Welcome everybody to another edition of Make It Monday. Today I'll be showing you how to do the Northern Lights tumbler with glitters. You can also do this tumbler with inks, alcohol inks as well, but we're going to be using glitter today. All of the glitters that you see here, I'm just mixing my epoxy. All of the glitters that you see here are available on Etsy at Backfist Customs. I will leave a link in the comments of the package. It's actually a combo pack that you can purchase all these colors all at once and not have to worry about getting the right ones. Just mixing up a little epoxy. All I have done so far is I base coated my cup black. I then sealed the black with Rust-Oleum 2X clear coat matte sealer. I let that dry and then I applied my stencils. I'll leave a link also for the stencil. It's a free download. I will leave that link. We're going to mix very, very little epoxy. We are doing the epoxy method to apply our glitters. And so I have very little epoxy mixed up. And I won't even use all of what's mixed. You really don't need much. Now my stencil you'll see is purple, and that's mainly because I was hoping you guys would be able to see it. It doesn't matter what color you use because you're going to take it off. And I'm going to go ahead and move the glitters a little bit further away so I don't accidentally get any epoxy in them. Now first thing I'm going to do is put a thin coat of epoxy on my cup, and then I will come back and we'll glitter. So here we go. If you don't know how to do the epoxy method, there is a video for the epoxy method for glittering on this channel. Go ahead and check that out. It's fairly quick, and the epoxy method is a game changer. Right now I'm just making sure my stencil is laying flat because I don't want my epoxy to get up under my tree lines. So I'm just making sure it's flat before I start. Looks good to me. Let's get going. So a super thin coat of epoxy. Spread it around as much as possible because you don't want a lot of epoxy on this. You do want to make sure you come all the way down into these tree lines with your epoxy. Otherwise, you're going to have blank spots down there and you really don't want that. And that's probably going to be plenty of epoxy for this. So I'll just keep moving it around, getting it where I need it down into my trees. Doesn't take much. And again, all these little cracks and crevices down here in your trees, you want to make sure you've got some epoxy down there. But just be careful because anytime you have a crease, whether it be a tape line or your vinyl line, your epoxy likes to pool there, and you don't want that. So make sure that it's just a super thin coat. And I take this silicone makeup brush. It's just a flat-sided silicone makeup brush. Just wipe off any of the excess epoxy that gets on here, piles up on here. You don't want much. You have to think of this epoxy right now as your adhesive. And when you do your adhesive, whether it be the Loctite or the Mod Podge or the non-fabric adhesive from Backfist Customs, or whatever you're using for your adhesive, you're wanting a thin layer. And so think of your epoxy as your adhesive, because that's basically what it is right now. Thin layer, super thin layer, just enough to hold your glitter. The point of this is so that you don't have to let it spin. Doing it on the turner for you guys, because when I do these tutorials, I kind of need both hands. So I'm doing it on the turner, but once I'm done, I will pull it off and let it dry on my drying rack. That way I don't have to fiddle with it. I don't have to worry about it. Just let it dry. So I think we're good on the epoxy. I'm going to let that spin for just a few minutes and level out a little bit. While I do that, I'm actually going to... There's a trick to this particular turner that I can get it rotating the other direction just by holding it. And I kind of want it rotating the other direction because I want to do my lights like that. Now, one thing I always say when I'm doing Northern Lights for anyone is that if you Google Northern Lights, you will see how many different variations there are of the Northern Lights. So never go into this thinking you have to do it one particular way. Always know that there's more than one way that you can do this and make it look good. I've probably done close to a dozen Northern Lights tumblers in the last 2 weeks, and every single one of them is unique. Every single one of them is different. And so just go off of how you envision it or how your customer envisions it, and I promise you it'll be beautiful. Now, this particular Northern Lights package that I'm going to be using, the glitter package, has this, I'll name them all. This is Electric Rain. It's a very pretty, almost neon blue. Electric Orchid. It's a purple. This is called Blueberry Muffin. This is one of my favorite blues. Electric Bubblegum. Electric Rain. Ursula, which is a very pretty purple with some blue, and it's gorgeous. And then Atlanta Nights, which is a black, but it throws a lot of different other colors in the background. It's beautiful. I lied. This one is Electric Rain, and this is Electric Kiwi. I don't know what I said it was, but it's Electric Kiwi, Electric Bubblegum, Electric Orchid. Okay? So we're going to start, and I'm going to start with my Blueberry Muffin. It is a very dark, beautiful blue. And I'm going to bring it in here, down on my tree lines. Put some more light over here. Just don't want it to be too much. But I want y'all to see the color. I actually want this going the other way. I don't know why I moved it. Okay, so down here on my tree lines, this is a lifesaver. This is a sprinkling spoon, also from Backfist Customs. It's unreal. I love these things. So down here along the tree line, I'm going to put, actually, I'm going to start with my electric kiwi. Because I want that vibrant, vibrant green down there off the tree lines. And then I want it to blend in the other colors towards the top. So let me grab my electric kiwi. That's this neon green. And I'm going to bring that in down here on my tree lines to the very bottom. I'm really just showing you guys a technique more than colors. You are welcome, obviously, to use any colors that inspire you. This is more just showing you guys how to do it. But these colors are perfect for this. I'm going to take this up a little bit. Not everywhere, but a few spots. And I will come back to that color. Now I'm going to use a little bit of my light blue, which is the electric rain. And I'm going to go right above the greens that I just did. And even when it goes up, I'm going to go up with the blue as well. These spoons make this so easy. And let it spin around again because there was a spot over there I wanted to get a little bit more on. Usually I change my paper underneath in between each color, but I already forgot, so I'm going to keep going. And then I'm going to have a beautiful Northern Lights custom mix on the bottom. Boom. Now I'm going to come in with my really dark blue, which is that blueberry muffin, and I'm going to do that right over my light blue. No rhyme or reason. It's just how I'm doing it. So, again, be inspired. Do it with how you see, how you envision the Northern Lights. Now I'm going to come in with Ursula, which is the actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to come in with some Atlanta Nights. Not a lot, a real thin layer, or a thin area, I should say. But I want a little bit of black in here. I think I'm good. Now I'm going to come in with that dark purple, which is Ursula. And you can use as few or as many of these colors as you want. You don't have to use them all. Every cup should be different, so this is kind of just a guide to what colors look really good. Now I'm going to soften it up with my light purple. I don't know if you can see what I've done. Neon, neon, dark, 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 and then leading that dark into a light. So I'm trying to make the colors kind of pair up a little bit so they're by their color family, so to speak. One day I hope to see the Northern Lights in person. I hear they're gorgeous, and I love looking at pictures of them, so I can only imagine what they look like in person. Now, the really neat thing about this electric bubblegum, the pink one that I'm about to use, is when you use it on a black base, it will actually turn this really pretty, unique purple color. And so it's not going to be this bright electric pink that you see right now when we're done. It's going to turn into a very pretty purple. It's a transparent glitter, so your base color will make a difference with this particular color. But it works so well with this Northern Lights theme. You see how easy these little sprinkling spoons make sprinkling glitters on here? It's so easy. And you can see it already starting to turn a little bit. Turn to its little purple color. I'm going to come back in one more time with a little bit of the electric kiwi, just because when you think of Northern Lights, you usually do think a lot of green. And so I'm going to put some more green on here. And then I'm going to fill in any of my empty spots with Atlanta Nights, which is our black mix. Because it's the night sky. I'm just going over a few spots with a little of the black now, just to bring a little more contrast in there. Not all of it will stick, because you've already glittered it. but it will help to add a little dimension in there. And kind of tie it all together a little bit. When you do that, tapping the bottom, you're getting a little bit of your loose glitter off of there. And I think we look pretty good. Like I said, this pink will turn into a purple once we put our epoxy on. We will not be able to put our epoxy on for a while. You're going to want this to cure. Then you're going to want to seal it, and then you'll flood coat it. If you need directions on how to flood coat, there is a tutorial on this channel. And there's our pretty mix. I like it. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to move my glitters so they're out of the line of fire. And I'm going to grab my heat gun. I'm going to heat up my stencil just slightly before I pull it, and it'll make sure that it doesn't pull my paint. So bear with me as the noise is kind of loud. Start pulling our stencil. And for this, I'm actually going to turn the turner off. I'll move it myself so you guys can see. And as you'll see as I'm pulling my stencil, I did my stencil in, I think, 4 sections. And I do that because it makes laying it on a curved surface much easier. And it also makes removing it easier because you're not trying to do it all in one big, huge I will let this cure. I don't know if I already said this, I'm sorry. But I will let this cure for 4 to 6 hours probably, approximately. And I will seal it with my Rust-Oleum. Let that dry for probably 20 minutes or so. And then flood coat. And there you have it. Turn my turner back on so you guys can see it in its glory. And I'll come down here and clean up these little spots where the epoxy kind of got underneath a little bit. I'll clean that up, but I don't want to clean it up right now because I don't want to accidentally get into my tree line. Once I put the epoxy on here, this pink will be purple and it'll look a little different. But that easily, you have a Northern Lights cup. I see a little piece of stencil here. So I'm going to fight my turner for a second to get this up. If you're not good at finding your stencils, which I know a lot of people have trouble with that, I used to, you can always go in with a hot glue gun and put little glue dots on all of your stencils, and it gives you a focal point when you're trying to pull them up. You'll see the little dots, and so it makes a huge difference. If this is too bright for you, just go back over it with your Atlanta Nights. I like it. I kind of like it colorful like this. But if you find it to be too bright, just come back in with the little Atlanta Nights. That's your black. And break it up a little bit, but I like it. So there you have it, a Northern Lights using glitters. I hope this helps everyone. I hope to see you guys again soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And until next time, happy crafting.